Hello, and welcome to the Art of Oral Citations, brought to you by your Loris librarians. We're going to give you some guidelines today so you can properly cite sources in your oral presentation. So why do we include oral citations? The main reason is to give credit to your sources. Just as an academic paper, it's the means of giving credit to where it's due and to distinguish your ideas from others. It also lends your presentation credibility as you can back up your claims with sources that support your ideas. And it allows your listener to explore the sources further as they should be able to identify and research the given information on their own. They should be able to do this as long as you communicate the proper context, which is essentially who said this and when. Oral citations are easy and simple. However, we recommend following these guidelines to ensure your listeners can distinguish your own content from those you're sourcing from. First, introduce your source to the audience before discussing the content, so your audience knows the information that you're relaying is not your own. This contrasts with in-text citation, which often comes after the content. We recommend to pause to introduce the source. Don't say quote, unquote, or use finger quotes when you offer a direct quotation. And finally, you should be able to provide enough information about each source so that your audience can find them on their own. This does not mean a full citation that you would normally see on a bibliography, but just enough information to give credit and for your audience to be able to find the source. In most cases, you should include the author's name with credentials. For example, award-winning poet and activist Amanda Gorman, etc. For two authors, always include both names. Example, Dr. Swanson and Allen from Emory University argues, etc. For more than two authors, refer to the first author and colleagues. In addition to colleagues, you could also use associates or co-writers. You can then refer to your source as the researchers in subsequent citations without repeating the first author. Dr. Finnegan and colleagues at Harvard University found that, etc. You may also replace the author's name with an organization's name, such as the Center for Disease Control or Pew Research Center. What else you include in your citation relates to the format of the source. So now we will break down how to orally cite within some common formats. Our first format is books. Citing books simply requires stating the author's name and the book title to introduce the information or quotation. Here you can see an example. There are a few options when citing a journal article as a source. The first is done by stating the author, date, and short version of the article title. Here's an example of this option. Another option for citing a journal article is stating the author, date, and summary of scholarship, or the content of the research. Here's the same citation in this style. Finally, you could simply use the author, date, and title of the journal as seen here. You can choose any of these options to best suit your presentation. Just be sure that enough information is given to give credit and to allow the audience to reference the material on their own. When citing a news source or magazine article, the date and publication is all that is needed. Including the author or title of the piece is optional, but can be included if relevant. When citing a website, refer to the organization or institution and include the date of when the information was published. Remember, Google cannot be the source of your information. Rather, the website it may link to is the source. Our lesson today simply covers suggested guidelines. Ultimately, you'll want to cite your oral sources in the best way that you think helps your audience locate them, while still integrating them into the flow of your presentation. Remember, your Loris librarians are here to help.